get a good feeling, yeah. I get a feeling that I never had before. No, I get a good feeling, yeah. Oh, sometimes I get a good feeling, yeah. I get a feeling that I never had before. No, I get a good feeling, yeah.
Yes, I can. Doubt, better leave. I'm running with this plan. Pull me, grab me, crabs in the bucket can't have me. I'll be the president one day. January 1st. Oh, you like that gossip? Like you the one drinking what gossip.com. Now I got a word for your tongue. How many Rolling Stones you want? Yeah, I got a brand new spirit speaking and it's done. Woke up on the side of the bed like I won. Talk like the wind in my chest to that sun. G5 in the US to Taiwan. Now who can say that? I wanna play back. Mama knew I was a needle in a haystack.
Okay, good morning, good afternoon, everyone, wherever you are in the world, whatever time it is where you are. Welcome to Shopper Intelligence Live. Great to have you with us. Give us a thumbs up if you're doing well, and if you can hear me this morning, give us a quick thumbs up in the chat so I know that we're good and we're underway. I'm David. Some of you know me already, and plenty of you will know my co-host today, Andrew Arnold. Hello, Andrew.
Hello, David. How are you?
Very good, mate. Very good. I will come back to you again in a very short moment. But first, let's have a quick think about what we're doing today. What is this discussion all about? The price merry-go-round, that is what we are talking about today, has garnered a massive amount of interest, huge number of registrations. And I thank you all for making the time to join us this morning. So if you are operating in grocery, liquor, pharmacy, on either side of the ditch, you are in the right place today to find out what shoppers really think about price in your channel today, whether or not there's scope for you to play beyond value, and perhaps most importantly of all, how you can get yourself off the price merry-go-round safely. Safely being the operative word. And that apart, folks, there are opportunities here today for you to consider, opportunities that you will not see from other sources. So whether you currently have access to Shopper Intelligence or not, whether you work for a supplier or a retailer, doesn't matter. There is value for you here today over the next 35 minutes. What really does matter, and I believe that you will have both of these things just by dint of you being here. But what really does matter is that you have an open mind, you have that openness to doing things differently, and that you believe and have a belief that you can achieve more when you collaborate effectively with your trading partners, because we are really all about that. That's our why, is collaboration, helping you to do that. Whether you're an account manager or a category lead or an insights lead, that is what we are here for, to help you with. Now, something a little whimsical, just to get us going, just to get us warmed up. We are not far from Christmas, of course, 14th of November, very close now. Last session that we will do before New Year. So tell us, please, in the chat, what is the craziest activity that you have ever done for your work Christmas party? Okay, craziest work Christmas party activity. Of course, I'm referring to the official Christmas party activity, not anything else that you might have got up to outside of that. So stick it in the chat just as a little icebreaker, get us warmed up. And with that, let us say hello again to Andrew. Where are you, mate? Well, there we go. Right. Craziest Christmas party activity, mate?
Oh. Yeah, I mean, look, there's been a few. Nothing that I probably want people to know about, but let's just settle just for say a stump race at a cricket party, Christmas party that I once did, which involves, drinking and then putting your head on a stump and running around in a circle and then trying to run in a straight line. Yes, not exactly the easiest thing to do at the best of times, but yeah, that was quite amusing.
I remember that one from uni. It was a recipe for disaster. I remember a lot.
Yeah, and it was a disaster. Let's be honest.
Very good. Okay. Well, clearly that didn't excite many people out there because we haven't had any takers for craziest Christmas party activity yet. I thought ours was axe throwing. We did axe throwing last year, which looked pretty crazy to start with. And by the end of it, we were all chucking these things around like they were little sort of cheese axes, not big axes that could take somebody's foot off. Pub hop, men in heels and women in Speedos. Thanks, Nikhil. Okay, thanks for getting involved. I appreciate the effort. Now, Andrew, on to business. I know you have just come back from the New Zealand Food and Grocery Council conference, which was held in Australia. And it's very evident that there are some very different dynamics between New Zealand and Australian markets right now. What was your big takeout from a price and promo point of view from the conference that you were at last week?
Well, for mine, it was just the fact that both of the major retailers were there, and they both said essentially the same thing, which was we're looking to demonstrate value to our. They said consumers. I would say you need to demonstrate value to shoppers, but hey, look, we'll address that at a different time, maybe next year. But they were definitely talking about the need. They want to demonstrate value to shoppers, and they weren't necessarily meaning that it had to be demonstrate value through price.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a really good takeout for mine. They're open to this.
Yeah, right. Well, and even, I mean, that's interesting given where we are in the economic cycle, all of the media that we're hearing, all of the economic updates coming out from official sources. And so you're saying basically value was top of mind, front of mind, but there are other things even in that scenario and that forum that were being discussed. Okay, very good. Thank you. So bridging then into what we are discussing today, let's have a quick look. We will shed light, first of all, and touch base on the 3 rules of Shopper Insights. Number 2 in particular, which is all about broaden your view, especially in times such as those that you are operating in today. We'll shed more light on that in a moment. And then we're going to frame this around some genuine comments, some genuine questions that we and the team here have heard in the last few months. So price or nothing as a starter, then promos have their place. And finally, we'll go into this bit around adding value beyond price. We're going to touch on a few category specifics today, folks, okay? But in general, what we're talking about today is the process and the principles that sit behind all of this and the bigger picture. Just remember, though, contact us if you feel like you need some support, some specific category support, some individual category support. One of our team will respond to you today, and get involved throughout, please. We've got Kevin. I know Kevin just had his hand up, and a couple of people have got their hands up in a moment, but maybe Kevin, drop us a little hello in the chat. Put your questions in there. You can put them in anonymously, easy for me to say. And we will definitely come back, and if we can't address them on the call now, we will pick up with you afterwards and see what we can do to help if you have shopper questions around price or promo. And remember, of course, I know this is a very popular question, I often get asked this, recording from today's session is going to be available to you within about 24 hours of us wrapping up today. There we go. Hello, Kev. Good to know that you are there. So get your questions in. So broadening your view, the essence really of how you can leverage Shopper Insights boils down to 3 rules of Shopper Insights. The first of which is one we talk about a lot, and that is that Shopper is not a project. If you want sustained, if you want long-term success, you won't get it. You won't get the best results anyway, certainly, by doing a dip or by doing an occasional refresh every couple of years. Habits change faster than that. Shopper behaviors change faster than that. That is a fact right now. The second rule of Shopper then is very relevant to today, very pertinent. And it is that in order to maximize your external influence, you must broaden your view. Okay, so knowing what's going on in your categories is absolutely critical. But unless you're able to define the context in the rest of your department or indeed the rest of store, then how do you really know if your plans are specific to you or just a reflection of the current environment? And if then you want to go on and maximize your impact, which I'm sure everyone on this session does today, you want to know whether you're special in your category or whether your proof points actually speak to what's going on in most categories. So that is what we're going to shine a light on for the main of this session today. And finally, though, the third rule of Shopper is get senior buy-in. Okay, so that is the way to get traction in your business. If you're a decision maker or an influencer on this call, take this session to your business. Get them on board with the principles, with the truths that Andrew and I are going to share with you today, and get them on board with it if they are not already. 3 rules of Shopper, always good to keep those in mind. Now, with that all being said, let us move on to today's business. Price or nothing. Is that how it feels in your category right now? Is that, do you feel, the beginning, the middle, the end of every category conversation you have internally, externally? It may well be, because this is something we've heard over and over again in the last probably 12 to 18 months. Probably a good time here as well to launch a quick poll, because I really want to get a sense for how you're feeling right now on this point. And let me stress, as I launch this poll, that it is completely anonymous. It's anonymous at the point where you submit your response. It's anonymous when we look at it afterwards. So do not worry about that. But essentially, the question is, in the context of what you understand about shoppers in your category and what they want, are you spending too little time, too much time, or about the right amount of time focusing and discussing price and promos? So we'll let that run for a couple of minutes. And I just want to say as well, because we were talking through this, Andrew and I, and it is hard. We absolutely understand. I have come from a retail background. Andrew has come from a manufacturing background. These conversations are tough. There is no silver bullet. We are not here to preach to you from our cozy sort of agency pulpit. We are here to offer you some evidence-based perspectives that can support you out in the real world and help you to achieve that more collaborative and, dare I say it, less confrontational outcome with your trading partners. So with that said, the premise of this first point really is simply this, that if price were, shall we say, an all-consuming focus for shoppers, we would surely expect, would we not, to see its importance increasing in more categories than it is decreasing. And yet, we're using off-premise liquor in Australia as an example, just on screen here. And in fact, the reality is not even close to that hypothesis or that premise. You can see very clearly that in the majority of cases, price importance, as judged by shoppers in off-premise liquor, has actually decreased. This is when we compare the MAT to June this year with the MAT to December last year. So just in the space of those 6 months, which have been so pivotal really from an economic perspective. And you see it's the same in terms of offers. 52% of categories have seen the importance of offers decrease according to shoppers. And it's the same across this other measure, identifying value. Simply as a shopper, how easy do I feel that it is to identify good value at shelf in the category that I was shopping in? Down in importance in 60% of categories. So a clear demonstration of a couple of things, not only that price is not this ever-growing obsessive concern for every single shopper out in the market, but it also indicates that there are other concerns. And of course, it also indicates that there are those categories where price and offers and value absolutely have increased in importance, and they need to be borne in mind as well. Andrew, a bit of New Zealand context?
Yeah, I mean, we just got our most recent updated data just in the last few weeks, and we're seeing a similar story in New Zealand. Now, it is nonsensical at the moment to talk about the fact that, oh, don't worry about price. Don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. Yeah, it matters. It absolutely matters. But the real insight is how much more does it matter in your category than in someone else's? What's the relativity? What is actually going on in that mix? So we're seeing essentially the same things in New Zealand grocery and in our other channels as well that we track in New Zealand. The same thing you're seeing here on the screen. Price is not getting any more important quickly. In fact, in many categories, it's actually getting less important over time. Similar story to what you're seeing here. So price in New Zealand, yes, cost of living, yes, everything that is going on there, but it's not accelerating away into the distance in terms of being the be all and end all. You still need to be thinking about other things and bringing other things to the table. That's the big message that's coming over from New Zealand.
And I suppose, look, from a practical perspective as well, just to build on that, as you and I both know from our previous experiences, and everyone on this call today is experiencing as well, just practically speaking, you get a finite amount of time in discussions with your trading partners. It's precious time, it's golden time. And therefore, this whole notion of, well, what are we going to spend the time talking about? How much of it do we focus on price and promotions versus some other topic, some other lever, is really foundational to how quickly and how smoothly you can advance the category. And I just wanted to add as well, from an AU perspective, just to complete the picture, in grocery, 25% of categories in our latest read have seen price importance, according to shoppers, fall in the 12 months to June this year versus the prior 12 months. Now, I just want to add to that as well, adding those where it's unchanged year on year, we get to a staggering 93% of categories in the Australian supermarket. 93% of categories, just stripping this back, and I know it's a simplification, but just to make the point, 93% have either not seen an increase in price importance, according to shoppers, or price has actually decreased as a single measure in importance. And so that leads us to this next question that we get asked a lot, which is, how aggressive do we need to be on price? What is the speed of the merry-go-round that shoppers are asking for? And here's something to consider, because the answer is that with price satisfaction dropping as much as it has in the last 12 months in Australia, you cannot afford to be complacent on price. Fact, we know this. No one can afford on this call to disregard it and not to have it as a very, very pivotal piece of your strategy. But we also know there are still other significant non-price related measures, two of which you can see on screen now, that are depressing overall grocery shopper satisfaction. Range, availability, chief among them. So range, simply the options, the breadth, the depth of range in any given category, and availability still, as you can see on screen, significant challenges across the store in the minds of shoppers. That's what shoppers are telling you. That's what shoppers are telling us. So there's very much more than just price at play. And I'll take this opportunity now then just to end our poll, and I'm going to share with you the results. You should be seeing that on screen somewhere now. 40% of you saying too much time, it's a distraction from other levers. About 1 in 3 of you saying we're about right, balanced with other important topics. Fantastic. And interestingly, 1 in 4 of you saying that you don't think you're spending enough time given the current economic challenges. So that's interesting. I've got to say that's a bigger spread. I ran this on LinkedIn last night, and it was something like 80-90% of people were in that too much, it's become a bit of a distraction from other things category. So this is good. Got a lot of people who feel that you're balanced. You've got good balanced conversations and discussions going on, but certainly for a good 4 in 10 of you, there's something that you'd like to potentially adjust a little bit in that conversation. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing that now, and we'll move on. Quick couple of recaps. As I've said before, keep driving this home. We're not saying ignore price. We're not saying be complacent on it. You can't afford to do that, but there are clearly other things going on for shoppers as well right now. So the critical thing you're doing today, so you want to do after this, is arm yourself with real proof points from real shoppers, not that kind of exaggerated mass media stuff that we are getting fed on a daily basis. And in doing that, you will doubtless also get a perspective then on what is gaining importance with shoppers in your category. The inverse of what I showed you on the slide about off-premise liquor is all of the factors that are gaining in importance in your category. So basically, so that you can steer your conversations towards higher investment in those aspects of the offer. Okay, so that's base camp really, as far as this whole discussion is concerned. Price is critical, no argument there, but shoppers are not universally in all categories registering this ever-increasing focus on price alone. Now we have, as really has always been the reality, we've got value and we've got value for money to consider in category plans and strategies and tactics. So then on to the other component first, before we get onto the value for money side of things. The other component of value generally is seen to be promotions. So another comment we're hearing a lot, another theme that we know is out there, Andrew, a lot right now.
Hands up those of you in the comments who have seen this or experienced this in the past. I'll be the first one to put my hand up and say, when I was a key account manager way back in the late 90s, early 2000s, that I did this. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, very good point there, Benjamin. Dangerous logic, but you've definitely seen it. It's easy to fall into the trap that you just keep doing what you've always done in regards to promotions, that you shouldn't change a winning formula if that's worked for you in prior years and so on. But it isn't really as simple as that. It is, like you said, a dangerous trap to fall into, because a few questions actually come to mind with this. The first one is that do you actually know what effect your promotions have on shopper mindset? Do you actually know if promotions are the be all and end all in your category, or is it some kind of variation of EDLP or fixed low price or whatever that might entail in your retailers about some aspect of that needs to be used? Do shoppers actually notice promotions in the first place, which was the question actually that you raised, Matthew, just before? Do they actually notice them? So if they don't notice them, are they actually doing what they need to do? Are they actually achieving the goals you want them to achieve? Which brings me to another question. Do you actually know what you want your promos to do? Do you want them to gain share consistently over time? Do you want them to just get a temporary sales bump? Do you want them to potentially rescue a product from deletion because it's been put on notice for 13 weeks that it needs to do better, otherwise it's going to be out at the next review? I mean, there's a whole different bunch of reasons why you do promotions, and you need to know how promotions perform from a sales point of view. You know, dollars out, dollars in. But that actually only scratches the surface. So the key to figuring out all this actually is to challenge assumptions. And I love challenging assumptions. And sometimes it's a bit of a difficult thing to do, because sometimes assumptions can be long held. That's, you know, people just hang on to them because that's the way you've always done things. They might be uneasy with having their assumptions being challenged. But if you actually look at these assumptions and actually look at these through the eyes of shopper data, through the eyes of behavioral intent, mindset, then you start getting a bit of a different picture. So let's just have a look at a couple of these. First one, promotions are paramount in every category all the time. Yeah, sure. I'm sure lots of people hold that assumption, but the truth actually is a bit different. In many categories, promotions are actually little more than a distraction for the shopper. They don't actually value them. They don't actually want them or need them or they don't actually influence shopper behavior. So what role does promotions actually play in your category? Some proof behind that. In New Zealand in particular, because I'm talking from the point of view of New Zealand here, fixed low price, so EDLP, whatever form that takes, whatever retailer we're talking about, but everyday price reassurance is actually far more important on average than offers are. So are you actually ticking the price reassurance box as much as you need to, or are you focusing on the promotional side of things when maybe in your category that actually is not what the shopper actually wants to see or needs to see? The second assumption, for the promotion to be successful, you have to get this big volume uplift. Well, okay, sure. But, again, here's the but. Through our data, we know that many offers simply just rearrange the deck chairs on the deck of the ship. All they do is encourage shoppers to swap brands. They do not actually encourage shoppers to buy more than they originally intended. From our data, we know that only 1 out of every 5 shoppers actually claim that they bought more than they intended to do, specifically as a result of buying something on promotion. Just 1 in 5. Just 1 in 5. So the other 80%, that's not actually growing the category. It's not, all it is simply moving sales from one place to another and not actually generating incremental sales, true incremental sales. Assumption number 3. Oh, sorry, David, yes?
I was just thinking, I mean, that is a low percentage, 1 in 5 only, generating what you would consider to be a truly incremental sale. And so, as you say, what's going on the rest of the time?
And most people will be saying, "Oh, my promotions are generating incremental sales," but are they really? Because an incremental sale is something that genuinely grows the category. That doesn't just steal from Peter to pay Paul. So only 1 in 5 shoppers actually say that's what happens. And we're not talking about 50 shoppers here. We're talking about 30,000 shoppers in New Zealand telling us this. So that's that's not a blip. The third assumption, that you need to get a big price ticket up on the shelf to get cut through a shelf, because and if you put a big price ticket up, or whatever it entails, the shoppers will go, "Oh, it's on promotion, therefore it's going to influence my behavior," and so on and so forth. Well, the truth actually is that there are a lot of shoppers out there that buy on autopilot, so deals often get unnoticed. So we know that New Zealand and Australia are one of the, well, basically both are essentially the 2 biggest markets in the world in terms of proportion of sales that happen on promotion. It's over 60% in both countries, maybe as high as 75% in some categories. Less than half of shoppers in New Zealand recall actually buying on promotion. That's a gap straight away of 10% of the shopping population that don't even notice that it's on promotion at all. So what has your promotion achieved? If that's the case, it's quite likely simply rewarded them for being in the right place at the right time. So they say, "Thank you for giving me a lower price. I'm going to go and do exactly what I was going to do anyway. My behavior doesn't change. Therefore, you don't get what you want to get out of a promotion."
Might have brought it forward. Might have taken them out of a category for a while. Whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you think of it from a point of view, we have a metric for expandability. If it's not an expandable category, i.e. they don't use it any faster just because they bought more of it, a promotion like this can take them out of circulation for months at a time. And what's that achieved? Nothing. It's just simply just giving you a slight sales bump potentially, and then what are you going to do the rest of the time? So it's the questions that these points raise is, do you actually know what promotions do for your shoppers in your category? Are you spending those promo dollars wisely? Do you know what role you want promotions to play in your category? And do shoppers agree with that role? Is there alignment?
Great question. Let's we're going to reflect on this and come back, but I'm just going to call it out so Andrew can get his grey matter around this. Doesn't rewarding a shopper with a lower price assist in retaining them?
Well, it can.
Mull it over.
It can do, but the point is that if you take them out of circulation for a long time, are they going to remember?
Yeah. Well, indeed. I'm going to come back on that one in a second as well. Just leaving this screen up a little bit longer. Screen grab it, take a shot. This is this model that we used last time out on Shop Intelligence Live. The assumption, the truth, the proof point. So we didn't make this up. This is what, as Andrew says, 30,000 shoppers in New Zealand. We've sampled 80,000 shoppers in Australia as well, and you get very similar results. And it's designed really around this adult to adult conversation. It's just about not being adversarial, not being aggressive, but just about going in and having these different proof points, these credible, reliable proof points. Because the truth of the matter is that promos and offers are not as important to shoppers in a lot of cases as that consistent low price or EDLP. There will be times when it makes sense to flex or mix up your EDLP. We all know that can become very wallpapery as well. But again, for context, to put this point into perspective, 62% of categories have a higher importance score associated with fixed low price than with offers. And that's in Australia. That's according to Australian shoppers. And it's just under half, I think Andrew just mentioned it, but just under half of shoppers in New Zealand. Moreover, we know that a large chunk of those deals, as Andrew just said, aren't doing anything much at all to grow the category. As a buyer in the UK 20 years ago, I knew that there were deals on shelf that probably shouldn't have been there, that were probably costing us more to run than we were actually making out of the thing. And consequently, the other part of this is that many of those offers became unhelpful noise. And perhaps this is also a bit of a response to that question from Chris. Because we know that the importance of price varies, and we know that the role of promotions varies from category to category. And even if we looked within that from group of shoppers to group of shoppers, we can't universally say that, as you said, Andrew, on your slide, stick a big price off ticket on shelf and shoppers will reward you, because it becomes noise, it becomes distracting. There are a whole bunch of other things that some groups of shoppers, and more so in certain categories, would like to be focused and spotlighted more. So yeah, just running that out. They're more interested. There are other things that they're interested in, if not even more interested than what might be on the price ticket or the promo. Okay, so quick one before we leave promotions behind. If you'd like us to share a little bonus with you after this session, just type TOP, T-O-P, in the chat now. We'll send you the top categories in which fixed low price is more. I love it. People getting in quick before I've even said it. It always throws me completely. Fixed low price is more important to shoppers than a deal. Okay, so we'll share that for both Australia and New Zealand. Crikey, we're going to be busy after this, aren't we?
Oh, Kevin's going to be busy, isn't he?
We'll get the team, we'll get everyone working on this. I'm going to give Simon a call and get him on it as well. Okay, I think you got that. I don't even need to say that again because everyone has said top. Fantastic. We love to share it, and it's great to have that information out in the world and circulating. So that's two different angles on this merry-go-round. One, role of price, the other, the role of promos. And if I can stretch this analogy a little bit for a moment, I suppose that's a bit like us talking about how fast the merry-go-round is and how much faster it may or may not need to go. So as I promised, to round this out, a point of view now from Andrew on how you actually get off this merry-go-round altogether, or at least how you can take a step away from it and maybe park it for a little bit of time. So we're going to discuss a framework now that Shopper Intelligence and the team here originally developed probably about 18 months ago or so, but it is as relevant really today as it has ever been. And we'll round out, as we have, with some real quotes from real people, Andrew.
Yeah. So these quotes here, they're from Australian retailers. We hear, I heard very, very similar things at the FGC a couple of weeks ago. So the key message here is that retailers on both sides of the Tasman, they understand that value in some cases does mean, low price, but in many other cases, value means something other than simply just attacking it from a price point of view. And I think this relates back to what we were talking just before about the promotions side of things. Promotions, if you know the role that your promotions play in your category, then you can design a promotion program that fits that. So if you're doing them for specific reasons, because they're part of a JBP, for example, or if they are designed to, you want to pull share away, or you want to be aggressive, or you want to do this, you want to do that. If you know your role, then great. That's absolutely what you want to do. It's the same thing here. If you know what else matters to shoppers, not just price, then you can actually start moving that conversation away from price. Now, again, just like we said at the outset, this is not a silver bullet. It's not a case you're going to go to your retailer and they're going to go, oh, where's this been all my life? You still have to have a conversation with them and start making plans about what are the other things that we can do if you don't necessarily want to just put more promotional spend in behind a category or your brands or anything of that nature. So this framework that we've got here, this is a category toolkit that we've been using now for about 18 months or so. This is something that has been taken to retailers, has been used by retailers as well. It's all about having a conversation about what is the best tool to use for the shopper in that category to balance out the focus on price. Now, of course, because inflation is high still on both sides of the Tasman, then that is obviously a very important thing to talk about now, but it doesn't have to be just about when inflation is high. You can do this at any time. It's all about understanding exactly what matters to shoppers in your category outside of simple promotion, simple EDRP, and so on and so forth. And in some cases, this could actually justify a price increase because you're unlocking value that's actually personally relevant to the shoppers in that category. So what this revolves around is 4 key areas of focus. The first one, how do you tempt shoppers? Tempt them through certain ways. This is all about understanding what matters to a shopper from the point of view of an occasion or a mission or something of that nature. it's about understanding what role innovation plays in your category. So innovation can be different things to different shoppers in different categories. It's just a matter of understanding what that means and how often should you do it, how frequently or infrequently you should do it, infrequently you should do it, what you should be calling out, how you should be doing it, displaying it, and so on and so forth. It's also about making sure that you're introducing elements of theatre, to do in-store interruption, to do off locations, to look at seasonal opportunities, to look at rotating your ranges and all the rest of it, talking about information and new ideas and all the rest of it, so it goes into that area. This is really around you're making sure that you are finding a reason to tempt a shopper to do something through something new, different, interesting, exciting, or mission-based or occasion-based.
So I was just answering a question there, and to come back to this new news in Australia, this desire for innovation and new ideas is one element that we are spotlighting and calling out in our State of the Nation this year, which if you're a subscriber, you should hopefully be seeing anytime soon. But the reason is because there's a strong selection of categories where we've seen this increase significantly year on year. 15% of categories have experienced a shift, an increase in this desire to add an extra item to the basket. So it's essentially a measure of spend, adding an extra item to the basket because they've seen something new or different. Iced coffee is one, shampoo and conditioners is one, pain relief is one. If yours is one of them, you absolutely need to be talking to that particular lever with your trading partners.
Yeah, and as with all this, I mean, as we go through these four parts of the matrix, this is all about calling out what things matter to your shoppers. So the matrix will tell you that in regards to whether it's highly ranked or whether it's lowly ranked. Do you need to be looking at it or do you not need to be looking at it? Not every category is going to have things that happen in all 8 of these things that we're doing, or all 4 parts of these quadrants that we're going to be talking about. It's about calling out what actually matters for your category. And that's how it's been used by our clients, by retailers, to understand where should we go, as opposed to talking just exclusively about how cheap something should be. So the second piece is one of my favorite areas. This is around communication. This is about how do you actually talk to what matters to your shoppers outside of the realms of price. So there's a couple here that are on the screen. This is an example of one that was used in New Zealand. So it's got New Zealand made down there, but that could easily be Australian made or UK made if we were talking about Great Britain. So things will be different on here. But I mean, at the moment it's sustainability, which sustainability is a great buzzword, but in some categories it doesn't actually matter as much as it does in others. So maybe it's not sustainability, maybe it's health. Maybe it's authentic brand heritage. Maybe it's quality. Who knows? It could be anything. But the point is this is all about what should I talk about pre-store and also in-store as well. And in-store, one of the best things that you can use is your own pack. Your pack is a canvas that you can control, that you can do whatever you like on that packaging in most cases in terms of the messages you want to call out. So looking at this area can help you understand what do I need to make more prominent on my packaging, what I need to talk about, because that's what shoppers are looking for. That's how they are making decisions. That's how they distinguish between something that they pick up, look at, and put back on the shelf, and something they pick up and put in their basket. So it's about working those opportunities at the shelf through this kind of messaging. And this can help you actually be a hero in the next range review with a retailer partner. The next one is all about packaging. So good segue into that. Packaging can mean many things, but packaging is essentially what do you do with your packaging? What do you do with your pack sizes? Do you go down that word that down the road of that word that we don't necessarily like to talk about, but hey, I'll say it, shrinkflation. Does that mean you could actually reduce the size of your packaging and still charge the same price? This kind of model will help you understand if shoppers will actually be in a mindset of saying that's okay, you can do it. Or no, don't, because of X, Y, Z. There's certain reasons why you just shouldn't go down that road. But at least you get an idea of whether that's actually plausible or not. So it's all about, do you increase your pack sizes? Do you leverage multi-buy mechanics? All these sort of things. We can help with this kind of model to say to you, yes, that's an option for you, or possibly no, maybe you shouldn't actually go down that road. And the final one is all about essentially value versus premium. So premium is premium, right? So do you need to highlight premium more in your products? And it's not also just in highlighting premium in your products, but it's also highlighting how premium is displayed. So does it need to be in a better position on shelf? Does it need to be given more space, more visibility, more shelf cues and navigation cues? For those of you who may have seen my LinkedIn post last week around the spec cheese display that I saw in the New World, that's a perfect example of this. Shelf navigation to call out where the premium bits are, where the really top of the range cheeses are versus potentially more the Camemberts and the Bries of this world. That's what this is talking about. How do I actually make people do something I want them to do, which is buy a higher value product by making it obvious by putting the cues in there. The flip side, of course, is do I need to have a strong private label play? Or if I don't want to go down the private label route, do I need to make sure I need to look at my pricing architecture and brand architecture to get me closer to that kind of end of the spectrum? Do I need to aim high? Do I need to aim low? That's essentially what this part of it is looking at. But it's not necessarily through make it cheaper. It's about, do I look at my good, my better, and my best and say, I need to be in the best part, but I need to justify to shoppers why they need to be paying more for the best.
Yeah, that demonstration, that justification obviously is critical. Not just about sticking a price point on it, but again, for context, this premium trade up is another element we're calling out in our State of the Nation this year in Australia. 1 in 10 categories here have seen a significant increase in the positive response to this willingness to trade up for something new, for something that's higher tier, higher quality, higher premium. Wraps is one of those. Chilled juice is one of those. Cooking sauces is another one of those. So 1 in 10 categories, and it speaks to a question that we just got in anonymously, which was around, well, the truth doesn't the truth depend upon the category? This question came in from somebody saying, I work in an impulse category and it's very price sensitive. And I guess, Andrew, that's kind of exactly what we're saying. Yes, the truth is real at category level, and that is the level at which this exists and has to be brought to life. Obviously, for the purpose of today, we are deliberately painting a picture and giving some context around where price and promo sits overall, but also then picking out some of these areas. And this is a great depiction of those categories in which 1 or 2 or 3 of these levers are going to be more pronounced, and they're going to be an opportunity. So having that awareness and being able to go and tell that unique story is exactly what this is about. That's the broadening your view piece in a nutshell.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we would never, ever advocate taking a cookie cutter approach to an entire store. We never would, because that's not what we're about. We're about saying that shoppers of one category are not the same as shoppers in another. So don't do the same things from one category to the next. That's why blanket top-down approaches in terms of EDLP and pricing and promotional decrees don't work anywhere near as effectively as they would otherwise if they were targeted. So what I've just gone through in the last sort of 5 to 10 minutes or so is what it boils down to essentially is 3 key things. Firstly is that value to a shopper does not always have to mean cheap. It can mean a lot of other things, and that toolbox that we just ran through can give you 2, 3, 4, 5 levers that you can pull outside of simply just trying to be cheaper that will help you to demonstrate and define how value is perceived by shoppers in your category and talk to them in that same manner. The second point really is that the tools to actually do this in your category and in your brands and in your products may already be there. You may already have a very strong sustainability story or a strong New Zealand made story or a strong premium story that you can tell, but maybe for whatever reason, you're not necessarily able to tell it. So I did see a comment before about, I came through in the chat just before about how it's difficult to sometimes get shelf navigation on in stores because retailers have a negative attitude toward it in some respects. And I get that. I totally understand that. So I'm not saying you can go in there and tell them and tomorrow they'll do this, but you want to start the conversation with them, because in some categories you absolutely have to do that to make it more shoppable and make it a better experience. And all this, what it all boils down to really is that you need to understand what shoppers want in your category to best demonstrate what value is in that category. for some of you out there, you're in categories where it will be price. So then it comes down to what aspect of price and how are my promotions actually doing what they need to do? Are they actually ticking all the boxes from a shopper point of view as well as from a sales point of view? For others, it's about those levers we just talked about. Which ones are the ones that you need to look at over the next few weeks, months, and hopefully not years, but for the next wee while, and start having that conversation to move it away from, I've just got to promote, I've got to be deeper, I've got to go harder.
Good question here, Andrew. Retailers push back on navigational material in some aisles. Clean aisles, the clean aisle policy. Any success stories you could share? There's one comes to my mind straight away, which was a couple of years back now, but we were able to work with a brand in men's toiletries to use these proof points to build a case for rethinking the way that space was laid out, to rethink the navigation, to rethink the layout, the signage, and everything else that went alongside it. And that was rolled out, and it was hugely successful. And it was so successful that when one retailer rolled it out, that within 6 to 12 months, the second retailer had rolled it out and evolved as well. That's certainly one that comes to the top of my mind. I'll give you a minute, Andrew, to go back through your memory banks. But
yeah, I've already got an example. It's also in the health and beauty side of things. But yeah, this was essentially a category around what you call it, feminine hygiene. Sorry, a fem hygiene thing where there was a lot of pushback around having shelf navigation in that category because there was a bit of like, oh, we can't really do that because it's a a category that's got very specific roles to it. But actually, it was a category that was crying out for information. You have a lot of experienced users, but you also have a lot of novice users that don't really know what it is they're supposed to do, and just putting a little bit of information at shelf there. And we're not talking about big giant fins or anything. We're just talking about shelf strips, that sort of thing. So small things can make big differences.
So let's wrap it up. Three checklists or three things on your checklist for growth. And I think we've hammered this home really clearly. Price and promotions when it counts, in the right place, at the right time, with the right level of emphasis, but in the knowledge that value does not equal cheap for every single shopper, and deals may not be bringing you that incremental gain or bringing you that cut through, or indeed even giving you the attention that you want on shelf. Someone just raised, I'll touch on this as well, that promotions are focused on different reasons, different strategies, I suppose, different tactics behind promotions. And absolutely, that's what I think Andrew called out at the start of it, having come from that background himself and myself from the retail side. Of course, there are always reasons why you run one promotion versus another, but you do it deliberately, right? Isn't that's the case behind it? You do it deliberately, and you do it with the best information and the best proof points that you can, and absolutely go in there and try and exploit those other levers, which may be inherent, maybe latent strengths and powers within your brand or your category already, but they exist beyond price. What are those products? What are those experiential strengths that shoppers are calling out for already today? Hopefully you know about them. Maybe there is white space. Maybe there is some stuff in there that you haven't tapped into. Reach out to us. Let us talk to you about your specific category and the dynamics that are really at play there. And in doing so, lastly but not least, broaden your view, get the context, get a benchmark against your department, get a benchmark, one retailer against another. And that is going to help you to increase your influence. Just going back on that point about the pushback on experiential elements, on navigation, on stuff in aisle, Andrew and I can't sit here and say that if you take this into retailer, you take piece of evidence A into retailer B, you're going to get a result. But there is definitely something there, and we see it time and time again in terms of collaboration around strong, credible proof points and putting yourself in the best position to feel as though you're going to get that influence, to feel as though you're going to get a great result. Just as we wrap up then, Andrew, if you are new to Shopper Intelligence, or if you were not working with us today, what would be your one call to action for folks listening?
Oh, look, if you're not working with us at the moment, just put a yes in the comments if you want to know more, if you want to talk to us about how you can start this journey how you can, start thinking about how you're going to take a shopper-led approach towards what you want to do with your categories, with your business, with your retailers. Just put a yes, no comments. We'll reach out to you and we'll start a conversation.
Wonderful. Thank you. Yes, in the comments now, if you want somebody to give you a shout. And if you're already a client using Shop Intelligence, remember, we're here to help you. If you feel as if you need that better understanding of price and promotions in your category, if you're looking for those attributes beyond price, that those levers that you can exploit, that shoppers tell you are significant, reach out to the team today and use our support. Andrew, thank you very much, mate.
Thank you, David. Thank you very much.
See you soon. And folks, thanks very much for being with us. Recording will come out soon. Follow-ups will come out soon. Have a great Christmas, folks. And we will see you again in the new year. Take care.
Thank you, everybody.